Hello, good morning, and welcome to Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. This lovely Saturday morning. Well, there's some showers of blessings here and there, and well, it's just a way to usher in the weekend. I am Ibrahim Yusuf, and as much as I would like to go this alone, I have my ex-best friend in the house.
Ex-best friend?
Yes.
Are you throwing shades now?
I'm not throwing. I'm just saying.
Ex-friend?
I'm just saying.
I haven't seen you in months, and then you come up to me and serve me breakfast live.
That's friendship breakfast.
Live.
Friendship breakfast.
No problem. 1-0. Ibrahim 1, me 0.
So we've got Rosemary right here in the house. How you doing, Rosemary?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm okay. I haven't been around for a while, and you didn't miss me.
I did miss you, but you were pretty occupied. I couldn't take you away from your work.
I came to make sure I came to check on you.
Yes, just to make sure that
to make sure the children
I'm
are
not
doing
ruining,
well.
the hard work you've put in on this show, the standard you brought to it. I'm trying to keep up.
Exactly.
With that. Yes.
It's nice to know you're behaving yourself. So it's Daybreak Extra on Trust TV, and Rosemary and I are going to give you nothing but the very best to make sure that your weekend goes smoothly. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're going to gossip.
A lot.
A lot.
I like the sound of that. So we'll take a short break right now, and when we return, the show continues proper. Stay with us. Welcome back from that short reprieve. Well, we're going to start with the program and give you the dose of what the newspaper headlines are saying this morning. As usual, we're going to start with Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust on Saturday, and it carries this major headline on the front page, and it says, unending tussle between IGP PSC stalls recruitment. And only 10,000 out of the 60,000 officers recruited in 4 years. And applicants express frustration. PSC workers begin indefinite strike. I think that is the theme of things these days. When things come to a head, you just go on strike.
NEPA strike, ASU strike, cemetery workers strike.
Maybe you should
we go on strike?
You should go on strike.
No, two of us.
I'm not part of that. And another rider here that says, Constitution gives a PSC supervisory powers, says a lawyer. And Wike returns, I'm still consulting. That's something about politics. And Ganu's unique vehicle stand test of time. For details of that, you turn to page 8 of the Daily Trust. The story of my water-powered cooking stove, Gombe self-taught engineer. Now that's some ingenuity there. With the high cost of gas and everything there, I think a water-powered cooking stove is really not a bad idea.
The best thing we could look forward to.
Actually.
Right now.
Meike sworn in as 31st NBA president is another headline, and towards the top of the page, 2 die, 4 rescued as building collapses in Abuja. Details of that on page 7. That's quite sad, isn't it?
Yes, it happened, I think, around 9, 10 a.m. yesterday. And I had 2 people.
Seriously sad. Nigeria's economy grew by 3.54% in Q2. That's the National Bureau of Statistics, and details of that are on page 7. Blocked funds, CBN releases $265 million to airlines. I guess they found it from somewhere. And
I mean, it's always funny when something happens, you hear they are releasing blocked funds. How did they suddenly become unblocked?
Unblocked, exactly. Why were they blocked in the first place?
Help me, like they put some cement to block it.
And now they are blocking it. They are uncementing it and blocking it. All right, now these are the major headlines on the front page of the Daily Trust on Saturday this morning.
And on Blueprint Weekend, we have at the top of the paper, we should rise above parochial interest to save Nigeria, says Wike on meetings with Atiku, Tinubu, Obi, OBJ in London. We also have Where Are They Now, Frank Odita, Abiye Sekibo. Coming down to the paper, we have Nigeria's GDP growth stood at 3.5% in second quarter, says NBS. NSCDC will sanction those involved in oil theft, says CG. NBC temporarily withdraws shutdown of AIT, Silverbird and 50 others. We have the lead story here that reads, experts proffer solutions to rising food energy prices. Riders that follow say government policies over dependence on imports insecurity driving prices upward, says Agaba. Forex scarcity, unfriendly business environment challenging, says Olamilekan. Improved power supply, refine crude oil locally, encourage backward integration. FG must address ease of doing business, says Idakolo. And we also have another rider that says increase interest rates. At the bottom of the paper, we have my godfathers gave me opportunity in Kannywood, says Fatima Gwamnaja. We also have on page 4, 2 die in Abuja building collapse. On page 26, we have 2023, what hope for Nollywood stars seeking political offices. And that will be all for Blueprint newspaper.
All right, the next newspaper we're looking at is First News, and it carries this major headline on the front page. The beautiful bride returns. Wiki opens up on London meetings with Tinubu, Obasanjo, Obi, Atiku. Says consultations for Nigeria's good and still ongoing. That's that's the political realm for you in Nigeria. Still talking politics. 2023. What transpired between Tinubu's wife and I, says Dele Momodu. Her reaction hearing I won't support her husband. Well, that is something to look into. And strike, ASU president, Uniosun VC, EXU trade words. Some state universities are quacks, says Professor Sodeke, and go get educated, says Uniosun VC. You're uninformed, reckless, says EXU. Well, that's dissension within the ranks, I think, of ASU, and trade words being traded here and there.
So much scuffle in that their little union.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, and unfortunately, it's the students that are paying the price now for everything. Still talking, going back to politics still. A headline here on the front page of First News: we're capable of surmounting 2023 elections challenges, says INEC, and vows not to lower the bar for next year's polls. That is attributed to INEC there, sounding very bullish ahead of the elections. After backlash, NBC suspends indebted broadcast stations shutdown. Army, Navy, Nigeria Air Force, police, others conduct tactical exercise on internal security. Now, that is something to look forward to. Talking about sports now, Europa League, Manchester United to face Real Sociedad as Arsenal draw PSV. Some mouth-watering clashes there to look forward to in this season's Europa League.
Someone is excited.
Yes, quite excited. Season. The football season is back. It is something to be excited about. Trapped $464 million funds, CBN releases $265 million to prevent aviation sector collapse. Now, that is another headline on the front page of the First News this morning. I deliberately wore sneakers to NBA conference, says Shetima. Now, that's something that has created quite a storm.
I'm telling you, imagine there's now a Shetima challenge. I feel like with all the things going on in this country, we just always have time to, make humor out of everything.
Sometimes you need a little bit of escape every once in a while, and honestly.
You want to do the challenge? Should I get you some sneakers
and a tie, very long one. So, neighboring states traders beggars behind insecurity in FCT, says the minister, and saying neighboring states traders and beggars behind insecurity in the FCT. That is attributed to the FCT minister. Rights lawyer in Enibibe Effiong regains freedom after 30-day incarceration. Now, these are the major headlines on the front page of First News newspaper this morning.
And on the front page of the Leadership Weekend, we have police snap 3 over killing of woman, sale of twins. We also have Nigerian economy beats estimate, grows by 3.5% in second quarter. At the bottom of the paper, we have trending, Atiku pleads for Wike's support. Numbers, we have Nigeria's GDP once more. The lead story here reads, Wike torn between Atiku and Tinubu or Obi. We have riders that read, leaves everyone guessing over who his camp will back. Adamawa party leaders reject one-term condition for ex-VP. IU may be sacrificed as Atiku relents. We also have another story here that says aviation sector crisis. Reprieve as CBN releases $265 million to airlines. At the bottom of the paper, we have 2 die as 2-story building collapses in FCT. We also have CSO alleged partisanship among new RECs. And finally, Nigerian fraudster Hush Puppy to be sentenced on September 21st. I'm really looking forward to Hush Puppy's sentence. I wonder what it would be like, how long, because he stole so much.
Yeah, well, he's
money.
Allegedly. Even though I did hear that he actually is going into a plea deal, so it might not be that's too much of a longer sentence.
You know, you still end up going to jail before your plea deal is seen through and they have to come to court again.
Yes.
But throughout that period, you're going to be in jail, so you might as well just take the steps.
But still, he'll be able to be in a position to negotiate a leaner sentence for himself, depending on how helpful he was to the authorities.
When it comes to fraud, I think they hardly ever accept plea deals because people suffer a lot from fraud.
For every crime, people suffer.
Yes, but I'm just saying, you know, fraud is... I won't say intense.
I think that is where plea deals actually really come in when it comes to fraud. Exactly.
Fraud?
Because you actually give a lot of information concerning
But it
other
depends
things,
if
Hush
Puppy is ready to, you know, rat out his
That is the
partners.
thing, because I actually heard reliably that he is actually entering into a plea deal. Well, that remains to be seen. Just like you said, he's going to be sentenced in September. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Yes.
So the next newspaper we're going to look at is the Punch newspaper on Saturday, and it carries this major headline on the front page, which says. The major headline on the front page of the Punch newspaper says terrorists threaten polls in 40 Kaduna, Zamfara, Imo, others local governments. Now elections uncertain in affected areas, residents warn. Efforts ongoing to flush out criminals, say the police. And well, that's some reassurance there from the Nigeria police concerning the polls. We hope that things do become easier. Inside Lagos markets where deadly herbal concoctions induce teenage abortions. Now that is something quite interesting. That is a headline on the front page of the Punch newspaper as well. And 2 die, 5 rescued in Abuja building collapse. I actually looked at that in almost all of the papers. States owe local government workers over 40 billion naira, says Nogi. Now that is quite interesting. Zulum unseals Kwankwaso's Maiduguri campaign office. That's talking about politics now. And APC National Working Committee members in marathon meeting with Tinubu, trying to re-strategize and strategize again ahead of the elections.
Yes, but it's so funny. In the last couple of months, especially since after the primaries of all the parties, I haven't really seen I don't want to call it campaign, but because they've not really started
campaign hasn't officially started.
But yes, but like, you know, it's the way Peter Obi has been put out to the public, in fact, and then with the Wike struggle and Atiku, it feels like Tinubu is not even part. Like you barely hear mentions of his name.
He's strategizing all of these issues that have been actually put out and bandied about, internal party scuffles, whether this one can do this, whether that one can do that, and of course you have vice presidential candidates wearing sneakers to NBA conferences, and all these things are being. I just side attractions. I think.
Yes.
I think the main action will actually start when the campaigns actually kick off in September. That's next month. Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on that and see.
I look forward to what they are going to promise us this time. Better electricity, better roads.
Same old.
Free school fees.
Same old. Let's just hope it comes to fruition.
Yes.
Still looking at the Punch newspaper, entertainers who have relocated families abroad. Now that
how many entertainers don't have families abroad?
Well, they have the ones that have relocated, not the ones that have family. The ones that have relocated abroad.
Many of them relocated their family. It's just them that.
Are you planning to relocate?
I do have jackpot plans,
as an
but we will discuss that
in camera.
Behind the scenes.
As a strike, how we run home without salaries, lecturer couple, and London meetings with Obasanjo, Atiku, Obi crucial, says Wike. And that's talking about, still talking about politics. Relief as CBN releases 265 million to foreign airlines. That's $265 million to foreign airlines. And that's just a tip of the iceberg, and when you look at the entire sum that is involved in everything. Well, those are the major headlines on the front page of Saturday Punch this morning.
And on the Saturday Nation, we have road deepens as Tom Polo's 48 billion naira pipeline surveillance contract. We have writer that reads, INC set up teams to interface with stakeholders. We have the lead story that reads, London talks with Tinubu, Atiku, Obi beyond party politics, says Wike. We have writers that follow, says politics of religion, ethnicity won't move Nigeria forward. Ayu's seat shaky as Rivers governor insists on zoning positions, says PDP. Von DG to Wike, beware of Dagger's syndrome. At the bottom of the paper, we have 2 killed, 5 rescued in Abuja shopping mall collapse. Oh, it's actually a shopping mall. This is the first time it's been said. When they said building, what came to my mind was maybe a house or a block of apartments. We have a writer that reads, how concerned neighbors rescued survivors. We also have Florence Itagiwa, why I'm hooked on politics, on page 21. On page 7, we have 5 IPOB ASN members killed in shootout with Imo police. On page 5, we have Azura, ex-AGF's memo reveals booby traps in power purchase deal. And those are some of the stories on the Saturday Nation.
Next, we take a look at the Saturday Tribune this morning. It carries this major headline on the front page. Insecurity, 5,000 Nigerian children may die of starvation by October. UN cries out. And it's all doom and gloom when it comes to that. That is on page 5. And you have riders here, shops for 700 billion naira to feed 5.5 million women, children in Borno, Adamawa and Yobe. Donors shift funding to Ukraine, Ethiopia and Afghanistan. That is the major headline on the front page of the Tribune this morning. Towards the top of the page, you find a headline here that says, Malam, who eloped with 11-year-old girl, says, I fell in love with her.
What is love to an 11-year-old girl, except what her mother and father have shown?
He didn't say that she was in love with him.
Yes, but like I'm saying, imagine kidnapping an 11... don't imagine it, but imagine kidnapping an 11-year-old and trying to tell her, oh, I'm in love with you. It just sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that is the excuse that he gave, that he fell in love with an 11-year-old girl and he eloped with her. That's quite sad when you look at it. Bandits stole my chickens and cut my arms. That is another headline on the front page of Saturday Tribune. And my job is to take back Nigeria and give it to youth. Talking about politics now, and that is attributed to OB. Details of that can be found on page 6. Conditions that created civil war are present and getting worse. Professor Falola, that is not a very good omen. And meetings with Obasanjo, Tinubu, Atiku, Obi in Nigeria's interest, says Wike. That is on page 6. And those are the major headlines on the front page of the Nigerian Saturday Tribune this morning.
And on the Saturday Independent, we have Mo Abudu debuts as movie director with 2 short films. We also have student smashes pestle on her stepmother's head in Katsina. Why I was evicted, says Big Brother Niger Ilebaye. We have the lead story here that reads, ASU, mass exodus of lecturers hit varsities over FG's prescription threat. We have riders that follow, third ban will deplete, frustrate lecturers. NEC blueprint 2050 project threatened. We also have Atiku Wike's meeting in London rattles Ayu, lobbies stakeholder to save his job. At the bottom of the paper, we have state universities not quacks. Uni Osun VC hits back at ASU president. We also have NBC bows to pressure suspends shutdown of indebted broadcast stations. On page 9, we have Femi Reyes speaking on life, music and Tambali. These are some of the stories on the Saturday Independent.
The Saturday Sun newspaper carries this major headline on the front page. It says, PDP crisis, Atiku Wike strike deal. PDP candidates to concede key cabinet National Assembly positions. Rivers Governor Group soft pedals and calls for IU's replacement. Wiki, we are consulting for better Nigeria. Now, these are the riders that support the major headline on the front page of the Sun newspaper this morning. Tombolo, tension in Niger Delta over surveillance contract. And riders here that says ex-militants in Rivers files a protest snub of Asari Dokubo and Ateke Tom. Labrador security outfit meets Bielsa monarchs. Relief as CBN releases 265 million to foreign airlines. That seems to be on all the papers today. IPOB under fire over burial deadline order. And Igbo groups reject idea and you lack powers to issue such orders, says Igbo Towns Union and Ohaneze Youth. And towards the top of the page there, you'll find Adedibu, 14 years after Ibadan misses late political garrison commander. Politicians, others desert Molete. And that is on page 6 of the Saturday Sun this morning. Those are the major headlines on the front page of Saturday Sun newspaper. And with that, we wrap up the newspaper review on the headlines this morning. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll do an in-depth analysis of these headlines that we've just reeled out. Do stay with us on Extra.
But in a situation where you find that they look like the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
because I have said that.
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children. Protect them from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
Welcome back. It's still Daybreak Extra on Trust TV, and we're right here in the studio trying to make sure that you have the very best of the weekend. And we're analyzing newspapers right now. We're looking at the front pages of the newspapers, looking at some stories that actually made the front pages. And right now we're going to take a few so that we can analyze them and see what comes of them. Well, right now on the front page of Daily Trust, this is a very, very interesting one. We touched about it a little bit. It's the story of my water power cooking stove, and that's from a Gombe self-taught engineer. And that's a person who taught himself how to do these things. He didn't go to school to be taught how to actually make these things.
It's crazy how lack can drive you into
and it's quite innovative. You know?
Water. But I think from the picture used inside, I think there's another source of fuel being used. They just didn't label it. Like water is also being used, but there's something that is used to create power and energy.
Another source of energy.
Yeah,
well, if this is not gas, I mean, like it is an alternative to that, because you know gas is quite expensive these days. So I mean, like having an alternative source of generating energy and actually having an alternative to cooking gas is quite amazing.
Let's create something now. Let's think of what we can.
Let's
be innovative
and do what?
You know, maybe find a way to power our phones without lights or something. I don't know.
We'll use sand. Or we'll rub a couple of rocks together.
I'm not having this conversation with you.
Rub a couple of rocks together so that we can generate that.
Sand. But you know the funny thing, sand has some form of it's not electricity. There's a word for it, but We'll have this discussion later.
So that brain is working now.
Yes, it is. Of course it is.
All right. Well, that is nice. Well, let's take a look at the entertainment news page now when it comes to the Daily Trust, and they said Mo Abudu makes directorial debut,
Yes.
which is quite interesting.
She's never directed. She's more of an executive producer because of Ebony Life. But now, she has a movie. She has her scripts. She's doing her thing. I actually heard the movies are to focus on mental health.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's deep.
And it's very, considering the fact that now most of our Nollywood movies, like, they are selling. So trying to break out and do something new, we've had...
But isn't that risky?
How? It's not risky. It's more.
And it's not risky?
No.
For you to do something different from the norm that is actually
No,
already
that's the
there.
thing. If you keep on doing the norm, you're not, let's say, adding value, or people will just keep you in one category. But if you're willing to explore and see what other things you can do...
No, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that it is risky on her part, that she's doing something different from what people are actually used to, and people might not be inclined to see it from her own perspective.
But what is life without taking
Yeah, well,
risks?
that's the thing. Like, it is a good one. As an entertainer, you must be willing to put yourself out there.
You must be willing to put yourself out there.
Yeah, and some news actually broke during the week was Idris Abdul Karim. And I had a kidney transplant.
Yes, he did successful.
And it was successful, and that's fantastic.
I heard it was his wife that donated.
Wow. That's love, isn't it? That's real love, isn't it?
I don't know. Why did you emphasize on real love? The one I have for easy fake.
That's why you're my ex-best friend. That's why we're exes now. So we actually wish Idris full recovery, and we hope lots of people find that kind of love that Idris has actually found. Someone to give you a part of his body.
Since Ibrahim will not give me a part, let me search for who.
No, if you're looking for a picky finger, you might be able to.
You
do
can't
something.
give me one of the
All right, and well, the Jazzy is actually advising up and comers to showcase their music on social media. The power.
Put yourself out there.
Yeah, the power of social media right now, it can't be overemphasized. Lots of back in the days, I remember we used to stay up all night. We were waiting for album releases, and when they come in, you have to go and you buy the CD, you listen to everything. Yes,
and then it's just the memory of the song you have in your mind, because back then no AirPods, no Apple Music.
Exactly, and even before that, we used to radio stations used to do that. A lot of radio stations used to do that. When an album is released, they actually play it all through, and you get to stay there and you listen. And some of us, I think that was the beginning of piracy, because a lot of people actually recorded those songs from the radio.
And then they turn it into mixtapes.
Exactly, then you turn it into a mixtape. So things are actually different right now. You see music being released.
But then my concern
online.
is, as a young person putting your talent out there, what if, say for example, I'm an upcoming artist, trying to do my thing with music. I put my song out there. It might not bang, but then there is the possibility of someone taking up my beats or my lyrics and fine-tuning it, and they do something and then it comes out better. I don't know if you get the point.
But that's why these things are trademarked. Actually,
but then if you're on your own, no manager, no label, you don't have the access to all those license and trademark, and even saying you want to sue for copyright and all of that.
Well, that's why you should trademark it before you put it out there.
Yeah, but I'm saying when you're on your own, you don't have the resources to do all of that.
Well, unfortunately, if you fall into that category, then you should be willing to take.
Yeah, that's my only concern. With, have people having to put their craft.
But that's the problem. Social media actually has wider reach than.
Yes, of course.
Do it the conventional way that they used to, and I think it's cheaper to a certain degree.
Yeah,
you understand?
Because you don't have to pay for advertising and marketing and all of
you just find a platform and you just put it out there, And well, for some it works, for some it doesn't, depending on the quality of what you're putting out there. But it's sound advice from someone who has been in the industry for a while.
No, I'm not even disputing
that.
Jazzy
actually knows what Nigerian music industry is all about. So
he's the best of the best, honestly.
So exactly, and he's been doing it for a while. So I think it's actually sound advice for the young ones to take a cue from that and maybe look at that as well. And it's not a bad thing to have. And
So
I think social media is
expect
actually
to see your
my what?
your rap song on your.
I'm
Instagram.
retired. I'm retired now.
Right, there's no retiring
I'm retired. Of
in
course,
the
I'm retired.
entertainment industry. You have to
retired.
keep going
I'm
and going
I'm retired.
and going.
So there's no rap for me right now.
I was really looking forward to it.
Really looking forward to what?
To you putting your talents out there.
Really?
Yes.
And who said
As your ex-best friend, I will support
and who
you
said
to
I
the
had
fullest.
those talents that you're talking about?
I don't know what. Of course, you have a talent.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it might not be the rap that you're talking about right now. It might be something else.
No, but I've heard you speak about rap. I've heard you speak about music. So I
So
believe
just
you
because-
have some expertise.
Because I love music.
In the music industry.
Because I love music.
I mean, you could.
Doesn't mean I can actually do it.
You'd be surprised. We just spoke about taking risk. You know, have you given it a try? Have you stepped into the studio?
Oh, I know what
had
this is. I know what
someone-
this is about. You're trying to be my manager now. I get it. I get what you're trying to do. You're shopping around to be my
Yes,
manager.
now, because when you blow, it's the people that were there with you from your little beginnings, your humble beginnings. It's us that will support you. So get into the studio.
Well, you're not there anymore. I mean, like we have actually confirmed officially right now that we're ex-best friends.
No, I didn't accept it.
Well, that is a story for another day. Another story here that actually piqued my fancy. It was when during the week there were these pictures that were floated about of the Falconets coming back from Costa Rica and having to sleep at the airport because they said they missed their flight and then they were sleeping on chairs in the airport lounge. I mean, like,
you know, every time that Nigerians have to travel out for like Olympics, World Cup, whatever it is, there is always one comma or like either they don't have uniforms or they are not allowed to play for some funny reason. Now we have them sleeping on chairs at the airport. They never seem to get it together. Is it that they do not plan properly, or there's a what is the problem
Someone
exactly?
argued it was that because the Falconets didn't win. Had they been they won, they would not have been treated like that.
Really?
Well, that's what that's just the opinion of people. And the problem is, right now, the football administrators are saying now it wasn't because they were abandoned, it was because they missed their flight and they didn't have
Obviously, they are going to look for the most subtle excuse to give us.
exactly, and that was why they was. But if you leave these things out there to be interpreted, any interpretation can be given to them.
Yeah, but do you feel like this is being done intentionally? Because I never really hear other countries have issues when they go for all these sports games. Well, I'm not really a sports person, but
maybe
most of the time it's always Nigeria.
Maybe they don't publicize it that much. They could have it, but they don't publicize it that much. We are actually getting this bits of information because it's Nigeria, and that's why we're hearing it.
Yeah.
Well, you can't say it's just a Nigerian problem. Just a Nigerian problem.
Yeah, like I'm saying, like you said, you saw the pictures on the internet.
Exactly.
So it's definitely not only Nigerians that are aware of it.
But had it been, it was any other country, would you have picked that kind of interest if you had seen it?
It's not about picking interest, but you would have the awareness of what has happened.
Yes, you might have the awareness, but it won't be like in your face as it
you won't
were.
be so concerned.
Exactly, you won't be so concerned with it. So I think that is one of the major reasons that happens. Well, we do hope that things like this we can really move away from things like this when it comes to Nigerian sports, and we can take it back to the way it used to be. On a sad note now, this building collapse. I mean, like, it's very rare these days. It's been a while that we've actually heard something like this happen in Abuja, and it just came like out of the blue, and lives were lost. And property destroyed, people injured. And does it have something to do with building codes?
I would say recently there's been this concern about the quality of building materials that are being used. You know, I have someone, a family person, she bought a property, and I can tell you when she went to check on what they were doing, you know, all these real estate developers, you buy the space and then they build for you. And when she went to look at what they were doing, the walls were already cracking. This is a house that has not even been painted yet. So you can imagine. And then we have people always trying to, what's the word, cut costs. So you have a foundation that is meant to carry, let's say, 3 stories. And then you're like, okay, because I want to do extra things, you go to build 5 or 7. What do you expect at the end of the day? And if we're being honest, buildings don't just collapse. They are signs. You see those signs. Probably maybe the walls, water start coming out of it, or those cracks. You should take that into consideration. But in Nigeria, we have this last minute syndrome. It's like it's normal for everybody until something drastic
But
happens.
are there building inspectors when it comes to the authorities?
I'm sorry to put this out there, but you know we're in a country where money talks. That's just the truth. So people may come to inspect your building, and then you tip them off, and
so a lot of
case
things.
closed.
So a lot of things are
Exactly.
allowed to ride,
Exactly.
and then we face the consequences at the end of the day.
And then people have to
well,
die.
that's quite unfortunate.
Very sad.
Well, we're looking at the numbers page right here on Daily Trust. It says we have 2,382, and that's officers of the Federal Fire Service recently promoted by the federal government.
You know what's funny?
What?
On Thursday, I ran into someone, and while having a conversation, he says, "Oh, I'm a fireman," and I'm like, "You're the first fireman I've ever meeting before. Do you have any friend that works with the fire service?" It's like I barely ever run.
I don't think I've met.
Yes, like
any.
it's. I mean, you always meet doctors, lawyers, and other professions, but firemen, I don't know. Is that they don't say with pride, or because I've never really run into them. Where are they?
I think that's something that's something that should actually be looked into, because
Yes,
we do have a fire
we
service.
do have a
and
fire
we have people
service.
that work
Exactly.
there.
We have people that work there.
People who have
But I
worked
never hear
there.
anyone say, "Oh, I'm
I'm
a
a
fireman."
fireman,
Yeah.
yeah.
I even had to ask him, "Hope you're not on the desk and you're saying you're a fireman, like you're actually going to the field."
Exactly.
And he's like, "Oh yes, showed me pictures of him in his uniform and all of that."
That is quite an interesting one. I think
Yes.
that's something we should look into.
We should look into
Well,
it.
2,382 of them have actually been promoted by the federal
So
government.
hopefully
which
we
is-
should run into a couple
One-
of
one
them,
of
at
the-
least
one
one,
of
at
the
least one,
2,300.
at least one.
And then 14 billion naira that the Governor Charles Soludo of Anambra said the state government is owing pensioners.
14 billion.
Yes.
Pen-
That's quite a sum,
That-
isn't it?
People work hard and hope to enjoy from their pension.
Exactly.
Why would you owe them? Like people make plans, like people that are not even close to their pension retirement, they're already making plans for
And
that
people
money.
like us that are actually close to retirement are really making those plans
Are
right
you
now.
close to retirement, Brian? You're very far from it, please.
Well, the point is, really, you give a large chunk of your life.
Yes, serving.
Exactly, and then at the end of the day,
Your
when you're
reward
supposed
is
to
being
rest
tied up
and,
somewhere.
and get rewarded by the institution that you have served so diligently, at the end of the day, it happens like that. And when you look at some of the some money is being bandied about by these state governments.
Yes,
I mean, but then you look at 14 billion. Really, is it something that is beyond the state government?
My concern is if you're owing 14 billion, I want to believe it's because you've invested that 14 billion in something else. I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from. Say for example you're owing pensioners. Let it be it's because you try to fix up the university in the state, or you did some roads. Like let there be a reasonable excuse
as a
that will
pensioner.
I'm just saying, like
As a
it's
pensioner.
better to say the money was used for something than to say it's tied up or we are owing you. Why are you owing me if the money is already there? Like it's not like this money was not like arranged for before time. You knew I was going to retire at some point. You knew I was owed certain amount. So why is all this story coming up now?
Well, that's quite unfortunate. Well, from 14 billion, we take a look at 410 billion. And that's what Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said Nigeria will need to deliver its energy transition plan by the year 2060.
So are we saying we should expect the national grid to fail and fail and
Well, no,
fail?
it's a transition plan. It's not that we're improving what already we're moving away from what we
Okay.
usually have to something
All right.
totally different. So it's
I
going to
wish
cost
them- I wish them-
410 billion, and it's going to take from now till
You know the funny thing
2060.
in this country, always the sums of money you hear sometimes is just it's crazy. It's crazy. Billion, million, and sometimes it's never in naira.
Yeah, well,
dollars.
it's $410 billion, and the target is 2060. That's how many years?
2060, that's give or take 40 something.
48 years. Yeah, so at least
38. 38 years from now.
38 years from now. Where would you be?
I wish I knew where
from that 410 billion of Nigeria's energy transition plan. We look at 15 billion naira, which the federal government gave to the Nigeria Football Federation through budgetary appropriations and as presidential intervention since 2015. 15 billion was given.
What's happening today? The numbers are really high.
To the Nigerian Football Federation, the same Nigerian Football Federation that we just talked about right now, let the Falconers go and sleep in the airport.
At least take them back to their hotels and put them on the next flight.
You know, said they didn't have entry visas into Turkey, and they were coming in from Costa Rica. They with a layaway.
Yeah, but
Turkey,
there's a way to go around those things. It's it's easier for you to get all those things when you're coming as a group for an event. They have their solutions, but I don't want to say they don't care about them, but that's what it's going to seem like.
That is actually what it seems, and I think on that note, the analysis I think of the newspapers. Well, this is an interesting one here. It says inside the thriving horse market in Enugu community.
When I think horse market, is it horse for sport or horse meat?
Well, that is something that you need to pick up the Daily
Trust. I think I'm definitely going to read that because because I don't know. Do they do sports? Okay, well, we do have polo clubs in Nigeria, so maybe that's where the horses come from. I'm just saying.
Well, to clear those doubts, you pick up the Daily Trust on Saturday, and
I would read
on the horse market.
I will read it.
On the horse market. Well, still Daybreak Extra on Trust TV this beautiful Saturday morning. We're right here in the studio trying to give you nothing but the very best of the weekend. Do stay with us as we're going to take a short break right now, and when we return, the show continues.
My name is Theophilus Ebeyale. So I'm from Edo State, Southeast. I've been living in Port Harcourt for some years, but say for about 8 or 9 years now. I now moved to Lagos, so I'm now based in Lagos. If I come to Abuja here, I just come on my business trip as a transporter. That's how I'm here in Abuja. So it is Lagos that I base. I started driving. It's about 27 years back now. But when I start with a machine, this Okada. I start with Okada. I was riding Okada. So after some time, there's one of my uncle that was doing interstate driving. Then, so I now joined him. He now teach me how to drive. So from there, that is where I start driving in Lagos. In Benin. Then from Benin before I moved to Port Harcourt. So it is Port Harcourt I start interstate driving fully. Let us tell ourselves the truth. It's not that there is something so interesting in it. It's just for our daily bread, for what we can get. Because there is no other thing that I see I could do that time. Not now. That time. So that is the only opportunity that I have to be engaged. So I now grab it. Learn from that my uncle. Went to Port Harcourt, work with company. After that company, before I now join this interstate. Then the money involved in transport then is not as much as it is now. But the expenses that time is not higher as this time. Then the transport from them, that time when I started, from Port Harcourt to Abuja here, we were carrying 3,500, 4,000. But today it's not 12,000. See the difference. But then when I drive that Port Harcourt, Abuja, in 8 months, I was able to buy a car, Audi 80. But since now, to even think of Okada, if we can be able to pay for our house rent now, pay our children's school fees, then we pray our children don't sick, we don't sick. We thank God for the day. We are still hoping for a better Nigeria, for a good time to come. Maybe if the time can come back, those days, if the time can return back, I prefer it to be better. No, then it's just a secondary school dropout. Let's put it that way. So I cannot say this or that, or what I know, what I am not, to impersonate myself. No. So just a secondary school dropout. It's still it's part of, I cannot say poverty, or because it's the condition where I meet life. You understand? It is not everybody that can send their children to school that time. You understand? So then I did not, when I stopped school, I now start to learn work. I was learning this plant. This a plant for lights. That is the work I learned. That plant mechanic. So, but then as we were doing it, now see for the income. But you know, driving work. If you go on driving work, it's a daily basic something. If you go, you come out with something. You can go to a workshop or you go to a place where you are learning work. Maybe a week. Maybe nothing come about. Driving, if you go today, you have something. So that is what even attracts many people into driving. Then there are some people, there are junior ones that are coming up. So whatever I was making then, I was supporting for the junior ones then. That was when the driving work was even going smoothly, and not this one we are doing now. So even as it is, as I'm still doing the work, because if I say I want to stop it, well, I don't have any other thing to do. If I have my way, or I have any other thing to do, or I can be able to save some money and say, okay, let me see if I can try this business. I will not like to be doing. By now, I will not like to be doing that driving. With the experience, with the things I have seen with driving, I don't even supposed to be driving, because I still have some issues that I'm still trying to even fix, which I have not been able till now. Nigeria roads are bad, but now it's a little bit calm because there is police. Anyway, from there is some place you go to Napoto, you see police. The police people they dry on that. Before I don't want to mention place. There are some places before you don't go. But now the thing has calmed down. Armed robbers have attacked me before. They shot me at between Okene to Lokoja. I was shot. Look at this bullet wound. If you look at here now, there are still some bullets inside this place, which say I will go and do operation. But because of the financial distance, if you thought that, if you look now, there is still bullet particle inside here, which I still praying God will help me to see how I can remove the bullet inside. There are some particles. I was coming from Lagos. Then we were not now that we are passing through Obajana. We were passing through Lokene that time. So I was coming from Lagos around that kind of 4:35, around 5 o'clock. So there was a trailer in my front. So we're going. That place is a little bit bad. Then if you get there, you have to at least slow down a little bit. So those boys, whether they are herdsmen or I don't know, whether they're armed robbers, I don't know. I don't know that they were in the front. The trailer in my front, I see the trailer was waving. I said, what is this trailer driving? I thought the driver lose control. So I now look as the trailer goes straight. And I said, let me leave this trailer back. As I try to overtake the trailer, see people at the center of the road. Those are the people the trailer was trying to wave. As I should to hold brake. I now notice that about 3 people are passing in the back. They are them. 3 in the front. One is standing by the bush side. So I now look. What do I do? To overtake the trailer, that means I'm facing those people direct. And I'm so let me slow down so that I go back to the trailer again. If the trailer passes, I will follow the trailer. That person is standing by the bush side. That one is that one that just open fire. That one just open fire. So it was God that saved us that day. It's about 3 years now. Yeah, this place, all this place. That time, if you use all this place, the pieces, but it's just this one is just the major one inside. Now, if you look at it, it's very strong. It's very strong. Something is inside here now. So they here, this thing caught some vein inside this place. So before I now drive, struggle, like instead that trailer now slowed down. Instead of me to hit the trailer, now enter bush. God so kind, nobody wound. But the bullet, the other man sitting in the front, he has 2 bullet wound inside by his ribs here. Bullet enter inside. So we now before people now came and rushed us to hospital with that man. We stay in the hospital there. That man stayed, I think, about 4 days. Me, I stay about 6 days in the hospital. After they discharged me, they said the 5th day they discharged me, the money they are charging me. Before I now starting calling, before people now pay money to their account before they now release me.
Human beings evolved from their nomadic ancestors who spent all their time moving around in search of food and shelter, traveling large distances daily. The implication is that our bodies are designed and have evolved to be regularly active. In this report, we looked at the importance of exercise to the body and how it keeps the body healthy and not susceptible to diseases. Exercise improves both strength and the efficiency of the body's cardiovascular system to get the oxygen and nutrients to the muscle. Staying active keeps the joints, muscle, and the ligaments flexible, allowing the body to move easily and avoid injuries. We also found out that strong muscle and ligaments reduce the risk of joint and lower back problems.
I've felt much better with my health, and I feel younger.
It helped me keep fit in all parts of the body. You know, badminton is a game of movement, so you can't stand stagnant, you understand? So you have to move with your body, and it works for all the whole part of your body, even the anatomic part of your body too.
We are here to train them. Our training time is just 7 to 10 in the morning. That's the evening. We do training 4 to 6 years. And we always teach them how to do many things. They do stunts, they do 360, half rotation, many things. They have skills in their head, and we always show them how to do it, how to become a champion, how to become a champion of tomorrow. We always show them many things about skating, and they really love the game.
As a human, you should be working out every day. Regardless of how you look, you might look fine, healthy, understand? You're supposed to be working out, burn some calories every morning, and know how you are looking fit and how you are feeling fit.
We skate here, we train children to skate too. I know skating has to do with some group of muscles of the body.
We do skating, aerobics, badminton, and some other sport as well. Skateboarding, snakeboarding, overboarding, bicycle riding, horse riding as well. Yeah, other people do the activities, but me, I do skating.
This report shows that the more we exercise, the more calories we burn. In other words, the higher the metabolic rate, the more calories will be burnt, even if the body system is not warm. A cross-section of people who spoke further revealed that exercising the body encourages the release of brain chemicals, which are responsible for the production of cells. The children that normally come out to exercise their bodies have a way of thinking straight and making them brighter. They also spoke on the importance of exercise to the body and how regular exercise prepares them for physical competition.
It makes me more fit and ready to work.
Exercise is definitely of utmost importance.
We love you, Trust TV.
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children. Protect them from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
There is power in the depths of our creativity. There is grace in the process of its birthing and reincarnation. There is beauty in reclaiming stories that have always been ours but never owned or told by us. In all that there is, all that we know to be sources of hope and redemption, of untimely exposure and overdue bloom, there is meaning in the core of the creations that have been birthed from our artistry. It is one thing to make art and another to piece precious parts of your being to create a masterpiece that embodies your truth. You are a creator, twisting and turning the ideas in your mind to accommodate the essence of your creation. Every source of inspiration becomes a story of breathing life into your vision. Own your story. Tell your story. It will take moving mountains and dancing constellations, but wear it like an inherited title of royalty. It is your birthright. Hold it firm. Like a priceless treasure, you will live to learn that your story is made of more than just metaphors. Its plot is more than just memories. Your story holds proof of your growth. It illuminates your light. It is the narrative muffled by biases and stereotypes. It is the voice that pierces through the hearts of men, whose fangs will once again be tamed enough not to exploit the talent that is your work. In the core of these creations is whatever meaning your heart crafts of your soul. Allow the drums to beat and the flutes to blow. These become the tune of your being and becoming. Allow the eyes to wander and the mind to ponder. These become the measure to the vastness of your mystery. And if you allow your inner truth unfurl, the power, the grace, the beauty will reincarnate in all of your creativity, in all that there is, all that we know to be, sources of hope and redemption.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yes. Welcome back to Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. The piece you just listened to is titled Source of Hope and Redemption, and it was composed by the brilliant Sapika Abdul Ghani Bello. She is a writer, spoken word artist, and certified youth trainer. She has performed poetry at major conferences around Nigeria and internationally, including events organized by the African Union, the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Foundation, the Swedish Embassy, and the Young African Leaders Initiative, among other organizations and societies. She also won a number of awards for her creative work. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your piece was really lovely. I was swept away, to be honest.
I'm glad you found it so.
Yeah, well, actually, I was spellbound listening to those words. What inspires you?
Many things. My crazy thoughts. People watching. I look at people through the window when I'm passing by. News inspires me a lot. Generally, I would say the idea of storytelling and the power it holds, I think, is very important to my inspiration. And whatever it is that I see, I try to make meaning out of it and tell stories from it, because I think it is very important for us to tell stories.
Is this something you've always enjoyed right from when you were a kid, or growing up you just found that inspiration? Like, would you say when you were younger you like to read books, watch movies, watch films?
When I was younger, my dad would always give me books, and he had this like huge library with books that I would look around. Sometimes I would see titles that I didn't know what they meant, or like words, and he would give some to me and tell me to read them. After a few days, come back to him and like discuss it, have like a review kind of thing. So yes, I used to read books growing up. Regarding writing, I started writing at quite an early age just because I was a very shy girl, and I didn't like to talk to people. So I would rather write letters, just journal, throw away like a piece of paper with my writing in it, with my thoughts. And so growing up, I had the habit of reading and writing, but then it evolved more into poetry, into articles, and a lot of other things that I do.
So, when with all this treasure trove of talents that you actually have, I mean, like you write poems, you write articles, you write stories, and all that. Which one is your best storytelling medium?
Yeah. Poetry, without a second thought.
Why poetry?
I think poetry has an interesting way of sending across a message. I can write about a topic without mentioning the topic, and I still pass across the message. And I like the idea of playing around with words, with tone, the highs and lows, the inflections in my voice, and that is where performance poetry comes in. So yeah, poetry I think is a very creative way of like organizing my thoughts and ideas in a rather lyrical way, I would say.
Well, listening to poetry actually, or watching poetry being delivered, is actually quite different from reading it.
From reading it, yes. It's like, I don't know, it's like someone reading to you. So she's carrying the, what do you call it? Like she's speaking with, how do you put it? It's like behind what she's saying, she's also giving you the tone. When she's sad, her voice would reduce. When she's happy, there's a high pitch. So it's more interesting than just picking it up and trying to read it like
well, it depends. Some people will actually like to read it at their own pace and digest it and make meaning of it in their own way.
Yeah, but why do you think when you listen to a song it lasts longer?
But that's a song.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to explain to you like what rhythm does to words. When you're reading it just like a book, there's no rhythm, you're just reading. But when she's saying it, she's being intentional about.
We're talking about poetry.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to see.
Is there a difference between poetry and music?
There would be a difference, yes, but I think at the core of it is the idea of like rhythm, like I mentioned earlier, inflections in your tone, highs and lows, how you narrate the story. So with performance poetry, it's about the words, yes, but also sort of about how your voice passes the message across. So not just the words, but how do you like put emotion in it? How do you like enforce parts of it and drop the tone at some parts of it? And what experience do you give to your audience listening? And how does it affect them? Because then when, for example, I'm performing and there's this important part that I want to like communicate and make emphasis on, and I raise my tone, then it reflects on the audience as well. They're like, okay, yes, I feel this. Onto their last.
Yeah, that's the thing. But still, talking about making sense of everything, I think with a poem, you probably want to internalize it and read it at your own pace and make and draw whatever conclusions you want to do. You want to draw from that. No, don't get me wrong. I love when poetry is being performed. I mean, like just like you did right now, it's absolutely fantastic. But I think some people believe that it resonates more when you actually sit down in your own quiet place, in your own headspace, and you read it and digest it. So what do you think?
I think there's a difference between page poetry and performance poetry, and each of them serve different purposes. So with page poetry, when I read it and I can internalize it and analyze it at the time or at my own pace, I think the way the message is being written and passed across is different, and the way the audience also digests it is also different, or the reader rather. And then with performance poetry is also different. And again, with rhythm, with tone, with inflections in your voices, I think that is like the main difference. So in the way that you put your message in the words. With page poetry would be a bit different than the way you put your message with performance poetry. At the end of the day, they're poetry, but they're different. So even in writing, the writing process would not be the same.
So speaking about people having different resolutions, you know this thing that they say about when you see an artwork, it means it has different meanings to people. Would you say that's the same thing with poetry? Because poetry is words, so words are pretty direct. But do you think if you were to pick up a poem and I pick up the same poem, it might give two different meanings to two of us?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that is where analyzing poetry comes in. A lot of times, I took literature as a course in school, and sometimes would have like full-on debates in class about what this particular poem means. Is it about a woman giving birth or a galaxy? And like there are two different things, like stars in the galaxy and a woman giving birth. Like where did you even get that, information from? But it's the same poem we're reading, and it's the same line, the same words. But sometimes it's not clear. Like I said, I would write about a topic without mentioning the particular thing. And even for myself, sometimes I perform poems or I post poetry on my social media. And somebody said, oh, this resonated with me a lot. This is what I got from your poem. And I'm thinking this message that you got was not my initial intent, but like, I'm glad you got what you could make out of it, So we all read from different perspectives and different lenses, and I think that is also the beauty of poetry.
A lot of people, a lot of poets actually don't make that, or do not have that the performance bit in their repertoire. They just write and that's that. And you pick it up, you read it, and that's all. But why did you decide to go into performance poetry? Or did it just happen organically, or did you just sit down and make a conscious, okay, I'm going to start to do this and I'm going to train for it and till I master it, or it just came to you just like that?
Because considering she mentioned earlier she was a shy person.
Exactly,
exactly.
So
from writing to being bold enough to speak.
Exactly, to speak in front of people and transfer your message. That
makes sense. So when I was younger, I think primary school, secondary school, thereabout, I really liked the subject English, and I liked transcription, and I liked writing essays, and I just liked writing generally. So I had this very supportive English teacher who would write poems and give it to me to present. I am still quite a shy person. In like one-on-one interactions sometimes. But one thing about me, I would say, is that I don't feel shy on stage. When I'm on stage, I feel like I'm the only person in the world. And like the audience, they exist, but not in my personal space. And the stage is my personal space. And I think most of what an introvert is like me would be like having your personal space. So I was never really shy on stage, and I think it took also a lot of practice, because I used to present a lot with whatever event we would have. Sometimes like TV stations would come to our school and I would make presentations. Sometimes like speech and prize giving day, and like I would give a speech. And I think that is what shaped me, and that is what like grew my confidence. So having started at an early age, and then a lot of practice, a lot of encouragement from my family as well. And with regard performance poetry, I think the influence of me starting early and giving poems, even though they weren't really mine, was what made it like easy for me and quite natural to just go into performance poetry, because that was what I was used to, that was what I was introduced to, and when I would write in my head. I'm thinking, okay, this is how I perform it, and this is how it goes. So yeah.
So on an average, how long does it take you to write a poem?
Depends, anywhere from
5 minutes.
Yeah, that depends on the length.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, you have written a poem in 5 minutes, haven't you?
I have. So it depends anywhere from, depending on the length of the poem, 5-10 minutes, I would say, to 10 weeks.
10 weeks? From 5 minutes to 10 weeks?
Sometimes I write poems and I don't go back to them until like days, weeks, sometimes months later. And I go back to it and I'm like, okay, I want to like write this poem and like reshape it, and yeah. But generally, especially when I get the inspiration or I'm tight on time, it takes me about a day to write the piece, edit it, make sure it sounds when I'm performing the way it's in my head. So yeah.
All right. So do you read other people's poems, or do you just mainly concentrate on yours?
I read other people's poems. I think that was even how I started writing. My sister is a poet.
Oh, really? So it runs in the family.
So
you could say so. So she used to write poems, even though she didn't really share them. And she had this book where she wrote all her poems, and she would keep them away and not share them with anyone. And sneaky me would find it, go read it somewhere. And then that was how I was inspired to start writing my own poetry as well. So yeah, I read my sister's poetry, I read other people's poetry. Famous poets, Maya Angelou. I love reading Maya Angelou's poems. I think there's a force to it and there's power to it. I love listening to other poets as well. I listen to Safia El-Hillo, Ami Mahmoud, both Sudanese poets, Dike Chukwumerije, the Nigerian poet. So yes, I do listen and read listen to and read a lot of poetry.
So having to perform, because you've performed your poetry outside Nigeria before, what was the experience like for you?
Very exciting, a bit daunting in the beginning as well, because I think the first time I really did not expect it, and it just came like very quickly, and it happened very quickly, and then I was just traveling and I thought, oh my God, this is like a whole new audience in a whole different country. But I did my best, and the feedback I got was amazing, and so there was like solace in that. There was like, well, not solace, sense of pride, I would say, that I did that, and I did that as a Nigerian, you know. Yeah.
So you represented.
Something like that.
So, will you say that most of your poems are solely from your mind, creative, or you do some form of research just to make sure you're authentic with your words?
It depends. Sometimes it's just from my head. It's from the inspiration and like the feelings or the thoughts that I get. Other times I might have to do research because I perform at events, and when an organizer invites me to perform at their event, I write poems according to the theme of the event. So 2 days ago, I went to the IBB Legacy Dialogue to perform, and I had to write something around that theme, something around politics and governance, because that was what we were speaking about, and development in those spaces. So I'd have to do like a bit of research, more research on IBB. Of course, I know who he is and what he's done, but more research about the things he's done, research around statistics. For example, my poem was about, or our poem rather, I collaborated with other creatives. Our poem was around women inclusion in politics and governance, and so I'd have to do research to learn more and to be able to write more and write, I think, something that reflects what is happening in our society.
So do you have like a collection of your poems written down in a book or something?
Maybe like somewhere in a Google Drive. Not that I've published it.
Yeah.
Publish it, not yet, but I hope to do so, inshallah.
Oh, okay. But you've been doing this for a while, so what's stopping you?
I don't know, honestly. I don't think there's anything stopping me, and now that we speak about it, I might just do it soon.
I mean, like, seriously, you should, and it's something that you should look into. Just like you said, your sister actually writes her own, and you, just like you said, she hides it away from everybody, and well, that's for our own personal consumption. You have decided to actually put your own out there. So I think maybe putting it in a sort of collection will not be a bad idea.
At all. I would definitely.
Speaking about your poems, do you ever show your work in progress to anyone?
Nope. No.
Rarely
ever.
No.
No.
Do you feel like if you were to do that, maybe an influence of their opinions rather would influence the direction in which you're going to take?
Definitely. Sometimes I think even though we don't want other things to influence our work, they do, especially like opinions. I think for me, sometimes my writing process is a bit messy, so I go back and forth. I write like random lines and like later put them together. Sometimes I write in an order, but many other times not. So I think if I show someone my work in progress, it wouldn't make a lot of sense and they wouldn't understand it. So I'd rather keep it to myself until I think it makes enough holistic sense for me to share it with somebody.
So, well, ballpark, how many poems do you actually have? I mean, like completed bodies of work. Yeah, the ones that you actually have that, okay, that these are your poems that you know you worked on and they're there, they're ready for the taking.
I don't think I know.
Yeah, ballpark.
Give or take.
Because it's long.
2,000?
Oh, 1,000 is a lot. I would say about 200.
Okay, thereabouts.
Thereabout. Or the ones that I consider like poetry, because I think I used to write poetry that wasn't really poetry.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, the poetry that I called poetry, like I would just write in lines and stanzas. That was very early on when I was like much younger, and I would read my sister's poetry, and I would write pieces in like lines and stanzas, and I would call them poems. But then as I grew, I think I grew to like know that, or I grew to my own style rather. So now I have like a particular style of poetry that I would consider.
Which is a departure from the earlier style that you adopted?
Yes, it is quite different. It is quite different.
Okay.
Yes.
So have you jettisoned those early poems that you used to have? Or
No,
still
they're
there?
still here. They're still there.
Okay, because I think having them is important to show from where you started from and where you are now.
Yep.
All right. So a lot of people are actually talking about, okay, you know, we're in Nigeria, and we just saw My Daily Hustle a few minutes ago, and everything is a hustle now, and talking about how lucrative this could actually be. So do you do like professionally, you have an agent, you put yourself out there, a manager, and all that, you get bookings, you get paid for your appearances. How does it work?
I don't have an agent or a manager.
Okay. Stop looking at her. Stop looking at her.
I don't understand. I'm looking for somebody to manage.
Yes, that's the thing. You're busy looking for somebody to manage up and down. So stop looking at her.
I mean, we could talk about that.
Ibrahim, as you left me, I found a new best friend. But why is that?
I think I just haven't gotten into things as I haven't really gotten into the business of the creativity.
Okay.
My sister is a coach, and she coaches me through. She's a life coach, so through a lot of things. I went to school 2 years ago in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Okay.
I went to the African Leadership Academy, and it was a bit of like a turn, because I concentrated a bit on like other aspects of what I was interested in, and not less poetry, but less putting out poetry, I would say. So I was away for the 2 years and haven't been as active in the space of poetry. But then now that I'm back, I think I'm getting back into it. But generally, when I used to be a lot more active before coming back, people do reach out to me and tell me, oh, hey, I have this event, you know, and I would like to have you perform, and then we'll talk about it. And yeah.
You do some business.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do some business. I think it's an important thing to do as well, because a lot of times we think creatives should just do free work, like it's just writing, you know, or it's just like performing, but it's not just writing and it's not just performing. And I think services should have like remuneration, like creative services as well. And I think it's very important for us to understand the importance and like power of creativity, especially in the world we are today. As it evolves, we get to learn more, and we should be able to do better, rather than saying, oh, the favorite thing to say is exposure.
Yeah.
You gain exposure, so we don't pay you.
Okay.
But like, I don't remember who said this, but exposure doesn't pay the bills.
It doesn't.
So,
It doesn't.
Well, yeah, speaking of, you know, social media and all of that, have you ever thought of going into content creating? Because what you're doing is some form of content. So is it a thought that has crossed your mind before?
Yes, definitely. I, again, before I left, when I was more active, I do create content, mostly poetry, for my social media pages, Instagram, Twitter. I also write on my blog. So that is also a sort of like content creation for my blog as well. And I'm getting back into it again. And even before, I wouldn't say like I left, I might have not have done it as much, but yes, I do create content, and I hope to do more of it, because again, the world is evolving, and we're seeing the power of social media and technology and like all of that, so yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that there's a video that we have of you. Is it the same poem that you recited here?
No.
Oh, it's a different one.
Yes. It's
yeah. So maybe we can take a look at that and analyze it.
So I was going to ask, behind poems are a bundle of emotions, like so for you, what is that, or what are those emotions you go through when having to write your poem? Is it from loss, from joy, from pain? What is it for you?
I think a lot of it is frustration, especially like in the beginning. I write poetry that mostly reflects social issues, and so a lot of times, especially when I read the news and there are such heartbreaking headlines and very dreadful things to read about on the news, or just things happening around me, or things that are out of my control in some ways, I write. So I write about gender equality, I write about corruption, I write about like women's rights, a lot of things that come from a place of frustration for me, because these are things that we should work on, injustices in this day and age. I think because we talk about it a lot, I think it is about time we stopped talking about it and like taking action. And so yes, these are things that I write about. So frustration. Sometimes it's joy, sometimes it's hurt, loss, grief, a lot of things, whatever emotion that comes, and I get the inspiration to write, I do write. So a very wide range of emotions.
Okay.
So right now, if you are to imagine I am a young up-and-coming poet, what would you tell me?
I would tell you to just write. I think a lot of times we become critical of our own works, or we think, what would the next person say, or what does my audience think? But at the end of the day, what is most important is just to write. Do not procrastinate, do not think. A draft will never be perfect, so just write and keep writing and just never stop writing.
Whatever.
Just write.
All right, well, that's sounds like sound advice.
Just before we go, I was going to ask, if I'm able to pen down my thoughts on paper, does that make me creative? Can I call myself a creative? Because I feel like everybody, to an extent, everybody
Let me answer that question. No, you can't call yourself a creative. Just because you sit down and you scribble some things on a piece of paper does not make you a creative.
The reason why I'm asking it, because to an extent, everybody can write. I mean, we all did creative writing in secondary school, but some people just didn't go. There's no way you didn't do it in English. You must have written a creative essay.
Do you know the kind of school I went to?
Brian, please. So, does that automatically make you a creative, or you have to go through some form of process, style, form before you can now say, okay, I am a creator, I'm a creative?
I think you've said it. Process, style, form are things that constitute creative writing. Creative writing is quite intentional and deliberate, and there are tools and techniques to it as well. So you have forms of speech, that as well I believe you have done in school, but being intentional about the way you write and about the way you place your words and like craft them and put them in such a way that passes across a message that is just not plain, you know, that has some sort of style and form to it, I think is what makes it creative.
So you need style and you need form. that is exactly what you need to become a creative.
If
So I don't know what kind of school
fun,
you guys.
I
don't know what kind of school you guys went to, but I didn't know all of that. Well, we've been talking poetry right here on Daybreak Extra this lovely morning, and Zabika, has been wonderful having you on the show. I mean, like, I learned a lot.
Yes.
I don't know about somebody else.
I learned form and style.
I don't
and
know. I'm not sure about anybody else, but I know that I've learned a lot, and it was quite enjoyable. And we're looking forward to that publication.
Yes, really
Soon,
looking forward to it.
Yes, but don't allow yourself to be sidetracked by managers. People that will come and start whispering in your ear that they want to be your managers. You know, some people like who will start doing that. So,
Ibrahim, you're an enemy of progress.
It's wonderful having you on the show, and we hope subsequently we'll have you back again so that we can talk more on poetry and words and form and style that some people are looking for.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. All right, still Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. We've been talking poetry and a whole lot in between, and we still have a lot more to talk about right here on the show. But for now, we'll take a short break, and when we return, the program continues. Do stay with us.
Documenting the Nigerian story.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels. Leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
Welcome back to Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. Well, the show is still rolling on, and right now in the studio we have our very own in-house sports administrator, sports analyst, sports doctor in the studio right here, and we're talking about Adeniyi Ajisafe.
Administrator and doctor.
Everything.
Anything sports.
Everything and anything sports.
Good to have you.
Yes. So Toby came second.
Yes, good one. Why a lot of Nigerians are like, why second? I don't know.
Yes, why second?
Lord,
I'm
really?
one of those Nigerians.
Yeah,
why second?
Let me explain. Number one, remember what she did over there at the World Athletic Championship in Oregon?
Exactly.
She got gold.
Yes.
At the Commonwealth Games, she got gold.
Breaking all the records.
Expect that she will be tired to some extent. Camacho Queen did not run at the Commonwealth Games. Good. At the athletics too. So you can look at the fact that this lady has won two great events, in fact, you know, the biggest. Let me just say the Champions League of Athletics, and also looking at the Commonwealth Games. Now she ran 12.45 just yesterday, and coming behind Camacho Queen, actually came fourth. That's 12.37 seconds. Well, I love the fact that she was able to qualify for the next Diamond League that will be coming up in Zurich. And I love the fact that she came second. Why? For someone that actually won the World Athletics and also the Commonwealth Games, expect that the tiredness, the expectation, the training, and everything. So it's not bad.
To a certain extent, she has actually placed the bar quite high for herself, and everybody has come to expect.
And check something. Look at this. She ran 12.12 seconds at the Commonwealth Games, even though the 12.06 is not standing. She also ran the record that she has set for herself: 12.41, 12.45, 12.12. 12.06 for someone that actually ran about 4 races consecutively.
Yes.
And aside that, she has run in so many leagues or meets this year that she has really done well. So coming second now is not too a bad thing.
So Nigerians should calm down. Should be calming
Seriously,
down.
they should calm down. Zurich Diamond League is still coming up. They'll be running in Zurich, and who knows, maybe she'll be scooping that. So for Toby to come second and ahead of the American who actually came third, you should know that really now she's a force to be reckoned when it comes to hurdles.
Exactly.
Everyone that wants to run that race against Toby now, they are always like, this lady,
world champion. And they're going to bring
world
their
record holder.
They're going to bring their A game.
You are running after, against world record holder. Even the lady that came first ran 12.37 seconds. Still far-fetched from the race that Toby ran, where she ran 12.12. That record alone has put Toby on that high level that everybody wants to meet up with that record. In fact, let her come 7th. You need to break that record before we know that you are the world champion.
All right, so let's move away slightly from athletics now, and the football season is back. Yeah, and someone has a question.
I just want to know, is there hope for Man U?
No. Let me answer that question.
Right, please, you're not the sports administrator. I'm speaking to the sports administrator.
All right, let him tell you then.
You know, there was this joy when Ten Hag came on as coach, but it seems like there's no redemption for that club, honestly. No matter the amount of players they change and the new coach and tactics, they are never going to rise up, you know, to that former standard they used to have. So what is the problem exactly? What is it? What are we doing wrong?
Okay, let me quickly correct an impression. The season just started, and we cannot just begin to write off a team. Sure, they are going through crisis right now, trying to get players here and there, players saying that they are not coming and all that. Like Ibrahim always said that Eddie Ten Hag never knew what was awaiting him before he actually signed that deal. But to be candid, Man United, even though it happens to so many clubs, don't write them off totally. They can still pick up. After all, the last match they played, they were able to turn this around.
Yeah,
they lost the first two matches.
Right?
They lost first two matches against the B teams. I call it the B teams, Brentford, Brighton.
Yeah.
But against Liverpool, they came out like, this is the Man U people used to know.
Yes.
And that shows that things can still change. So don't write them off.
But I think people are actually not talking enough about Liverpool this season. I mean, like 3 games in, 2 points. I mean,
2 draws, 1 loss.
Exactly.
I think to some extent, do you know that why people are really majoring on Manchester United and minoring on Liverpool? Let me use that word. Do you realize that Liverpool, so far this season, they've actually had 2 draws and 1 loss against Manchester United? The same team that people have been writing off totally have really been able to beat Liverpool.
Yeah,
who sometimes back were champions. A team that last season they got 2 trophies. A team that every team was actually scared of. But now Liverpool are struggling.
Exactly.
And the reason why people are not talking is because they were able to get the player they wanted to sign during the transfer window when it just started, and that made them look like, oh, this team, they've gotten the best of the best and they are ready to go. But not knowing what at stake for them, immediately Sadio Mane left. I'm not actually agreeing that particular maybe loss or draw to Sadio Mane's not being around, but it has some effect. Mane leaving has some effect. 1, 2, injury added to it. 3, the players need to get psyched up that, come on, we are Liverpool. Because if you watch the last match against Manchester United, it was obvious that some of the players really were not in that game.
They were not.
And so attention should also go to Liverpool now.
Because
people should be talking about Liverpool too, because they are finding
a lot of people are making noise about Manchester United. Whereas there is I believe there's a crisis brewing.
Serious. That's why I say people are minor. That's why I use the word major and minor.
2 points from 9 is
it's too bad for Liverpool right now.
Salah, their major, you know, like their trophy boy, top player. Yes, the way, you know, Man U, we have Ronaldo and still nothing seems to happen for us. So doesn't that still mean that there is hope
There is still hope for all of them, but it's just very unfair for fans of football not to look at Liverpool not really doing well and always hammering on Manchester United. You have to balance your analysis.
Yeah, but isn't that because there's been a continuous failure from...
Well, if you want to call it failure, but I don't want to see Liverpool's case as failure.
Yeah.
It's just because the players need to get their mentality.
And it's still early days.
It's still early, very early. But really, if you check at times, Liverpool, for what has happened to them now, I'm sure they will pick up. They will. Most of the time, you see teams not picking up at the immediate start of the season, and later they pick up. And you remember that it's always at the second stanza of the EPL that the big boys begin to show their strength. So expect Liverpool
to come back.
Yes, they will come back. But it's just very unfair for people to just totally focus on Man United
and leave Liverpool.
And it's like the shadow of Man United has covered.
Quickly, before I let you go, I would be remiss if I do not talk about Nottingham Forest.
Good one.
Nottingham Forest have spent a ton of money this season.
Course.
They have signed like 16, 17 players. I mean, like...
And they are still looking for more players to buy.
They bought a South Korean, I think, for 5 million, but they're going to loan him back to Olympiacos. So
they got our own Emmanuel.
Exactly.
They're
doing very well. Where is Forest going to end up at the end of the season? I'm going to put you on the spot. I know you don't like being on the spot. Yes, I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
Okay, the question you actually asked me, let me, after all, one poet just left the studio. So Forest will end in the forest.
They are already in the forest.
Oh my goodness.
They are already in the forest.
No, but seriously, when it comes to football, it's very technical right now because you just can't use 3 matches to say this is where a particular team, even the team at the bottom of the table, let's say maybe West Ham or Wolverhampton or whoever, whichever team, right now, don't write anything off.
Because we've seen it happen with Fulham. When Fulham came up, they spent a ton of money, but they still went down.
They went down.
Exactly.
But right now, I think Nottingham Forest, if they can really put up that particular mentality of, okay, we've got some player, then the player themselves have actually been acquired, like, okay, we are here to turn things around for this club. Let's see how we can, at least, let's get to the middle of the table. If we cannot even get to the top 7, top 8, let's be among the team that we are safe, always safe when it comes to relegation. So, Nottingham Forest, let me say, well, maybe because of the Nigerian factor, Dennis and Awoni, I expect them to be at the mid-table, to do well. I'm not expecting them to actually win the league, but
to do well.
At least be at the mid-table.
I said finally, but something just came to me right now. Newcastle signed Isak for a ton of money.
A big one.
Do you think he will make the desired impact?
I was actually, let me take it from you. I was telling someone yesterday, yes, I respect the view of Newcastle on Isak, but really, Newcastle need a very strong, energetic striker at the front. Somebody that can break loose and defense to be collapsing for him coming. Isak is very good, but I see him as a slow player. I see him as somebody that is a bit fragile.
And coming from La Liga.
From La Liga to EPL, and he's your top 9 right now. I hope Newcastle are not doing Andy Carroll style again.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? So for Isak, respect to him is good, but I think they should have made it look like it should be a pair to a very energetic striker, somebody that in the mold of you can look at Aguero style kind of stature, moves and all that. Then Isak can just be like, okay, if this guy is bulldozing the way, and I can easily come in and at least help. But now you are making the fragile, lanky, a bit slow kind of, although very, very talented,
very
technical and is very tricky. But you know, EPL is a very fast-paced kind of game. You need somebody who had that particular quality. I've mentioned Aguero, that particular mode of a striker. That's what Newcastle actually need right now.
All right, well, that's absolutely fantastic. The football season is just starting. We'll keep an eye on that, and of course, we have Adeni here to give us all the juicy bits and pieces when it comes to that. Adeni, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, this is Daybreak Extra, and that's how we're going to wrap it up on this show this morning. It has been wonderful. We have been here trying to give you nothing but the very best. I think we managed to patch my relationship with Rosemary a little bit. I think we're well on the way to recovery. Well, we do hope that
if you let me
as
sign you
as possible. So I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for staying with us today.
Thanks for joining us once more on Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. My name is Rosemary Bassi.